Yes, sir. Let's get back to it. That's how we sync it up in post.
Oh, okay.
A little clap right there.
A clap.
Welcome to the Last But Not Least podcast.
Yo.
It's your boy, Mr. Snap-a-So, a.k.a. I ain't going to go through all that this time. Y'all already know me by now. You should know me. You should be watching the video. If not, I'm probably spamming your email telling you to watch the goddamn video. Because I do that. Got to make progress where you can.
He even did it to me.
I did. Got to make sure he's watching the content. As always, like, subscribe, comment below if you like it. Do whatever you got to do. If you hate it, I want to hear it too. You know what I'm saying? If you hate it, I'm going to come after you. But you know what I mean? It's always fun. It's always in good fun. You know what I'm saying? Definitely wanted to go ahead and get out some more content to y'all. For those who are unaware, we have a returning guest. We had a lost episode that we haven't aired yet that Miss Chanisa was a part of, and we brought her back today. Just trying to bring a woman's perspective as best as she can to the table. So,
Yay.
Yeah.
You want to do an intro?
You want to do it? Go ahead.
Sure. I'm Chanisa, and I'm joining today for this episode of the Last But Not Least podcast.
Yeah, y'all let us know if y'all want us to bring her back after.
Y'all
mean it's just the people. It's not. I would never comment.
Y'all want me to come back? Y'all want me to come back?
Well, you know, you're halfway decent people. Definitely want to sit down and have a conversation. Today's topic is going to be the price of sexual desirability. I wrote that down, so I wanted to make sure I got that right. The price of sexual desirability. Oftentimes, I don't believe women fully understand what it is to be sexually desirable. You know what I'm saying? And it's not really an aspect that you can control, right? They say the difference between flirting and harassment is the guy who does it.
I mean, that's safe to say. I think I've already told you that.
Okay. But the people, again, have never... They haven't been privy to those conversations. So what is your take on sexual desirability? Like, women obviously have a sex appeal, and that plays into that pulls on a lot of guys' emotional heartstrings, right? That gets guys to act accordingly, as they say. So how do you feel about the sexual desirability? Is it something that's natural? Is it something that women have to kind of display by removing clothing? Like, what do you think that is, if you had to like define it?
It's hard to put a label on it, because some people have an astute ability to be able to attract people or draw them in naturally. Like, they don't have to do much. They don't have to say much. And then you have people that actually have to put forth a little bit more effort. They actually kind of have to put themselves out there. So there's like maybe a gesture with their eyes, the subtleties that you have to like present in order for people to be like, okay, I can see some type of appeal, or I can see some type of attraction here where I'm willing to pursue. Where other people, you're just kind of magnetically drawn into them. And that's where the difference lies. And that's why I told you that having someone pursue them that they're actually interested in versus someone that they have no desire to entertain whatsoever, it kind of becomes, oh God, I wish this person would leave me alone. Like, it's harassment, because it's like they haven't picked up on the fact that you that is not cap. That is not cap. You like. Okay. You know when somebody does or does not want to deal with you.
Well, I think that line's a little muddy, right? I don't think that's as defined as a lot of women want to believe, right? Because you have the guys, right, that are just the heartthrob, if you will, right? They come in, you definitely know that he's going to get this girl, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have the guys that he's not so bad. You know, you got the not so bad guys. And then you got the guys that you think you could profit from or benefit from. And then you got the guys that you would never talk to, right? And sometimes those top three guys are usually lumped into a very small number of guys in the club. So out of the 200 guys in here, you may think 10 of them are cute. You know what I'm saying? And some of them look like they not your type based off their lifestyle choices and stuff like that. So I do believe that there are a lot of women who survey the man landscape when they go out. and based off of what's available in that moment, based off of their types, they say there are no good men out there. Because you hear that all the time. Oh, there's no good men out there. Yeah,
I mean, the same could be said vice versa. You hear men talk a lot about women not being what they used to be. Somewhat.
Do you think they are what they used to be?
Great question.
I said, I think the women are befitting of the generation and what's out there and what's being offered to them.
So what changed?
I can't. That's like saying which came first, the chicken or the egg.
I think you can actually track that back a little, man.
A lot of people like to pinpoint that towards like, oh, it went bad with feminism or it went bad with this. Exactly.
Not a bad starting point. I mean, if you wanted to.
It's not a bad starting point, but when you look at the dynamics for what they are right now, you have to face the fact that there was some type of shift where women felt like, okay, I'm responsible for me. I take care of me and I'm going to get what I need done for me. And men kind of felt in an aspect of like, oh, well, where do I fall into that? Mm-hmm. And it's not been a get in where you fit in mentality. It's been like a battle of the sexes for some reason.
Right. But this is what I always have a problem with, right? It's like, women do not hesitate to say how the favors are not in their odds, right? The odds are not in their favor, if you will, right? But then it's like there's this battle, and I'm like, how can you battle if you feel like you don't have an actual opportunity to win? Is it really a battle? Are you really fighting against yourself? If I'm going up against something that I know I can't beat, what am I really fighting for? Like, why am I fighting so hard against something that's inevitable, as Thanos would say? You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I doing here? It's like men going up against women is so counterproductive because nature tells us that we're supposed to work together, right? But there is a large proportion of women who had to grow up in their masculinity, in a sense, right? They had to step in where the guy that they selected to be their baby's daddy didn't step in, right? I'm not knocking it, but they don't know how to give that back. They don't know how to give that masculinity role back. So what happens is you get a lot of over-aggressive women who are out here saying men ain't this and men ain't that. But in nature, if I were to walk as a lion into another pride, I would have to fight to the death with the alpha male there. Women aren't fighting to the death with men. That's just not what it is. So it's like, you shouldn't get to a point where there's a physical altercation, but our nature says that the most dominant male is who runs things. Police gonna step in and make sure you don't touch that girl. So it's like, why do we have to get to a point where we believe we have to be physical? You know what I'm saying? Because you're in your masculinity, and I shouldn't have to wait for you to understand that I'm masculine for you to be feminine. You know what I'm saying? Does
that makes sense? But on the flip side, you try telling a person that's had to be self-sufficient and reliant upon themselves that, okay, it's now okay. You can let that go, or you can let that guard down. Mm-hmm. That's easier said than done, because it's like, no, what if, these are scenarios that run in women's minds. Like, I was told that I can trust you.
You can. This is a safe place.
Exactly.
Right.
But then you introduce yourself into this scenario, this new uncomfortable space, and you try your best, and then you realize that it's not what it was sold as. So now you're like, now I need to go back into doing what I was doing. I need to go to my fail safe, which is going to keep me, from being hurt. This is going to keep me protected. This is what keeps me afloat and allows me to be able to sustain.
So why don't men have the same problem relinquishing the feminine aspect that they've had to embody until they met their woman? I've never seen a guy that says, yeah, man, no, I've been cooking for myself for so long, I don't want to let her cook. Like, the reciprocal of that, I don't see that in men. Men willingly say, I got a woman now, bam, okay, whatever it is that you believe you need to do for me as a woman, I'm perfectly fine with you doing it. Right. But the reverse of that is women don't know how to step back and just say, hey, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Most of these dudes need...
You should keep your hoe on a leash.
I mean, that's what they need to do. At the end of the day, but it's like, I don't know. I think the gender roles as they currently exist have done everything but disappear, right? And I think our society starts to suffer because they tell women to focus on your career and making money, but we all know geriatric pregnancy is like 35. That's relatively young if you think about the remainder of your life. I think Black women's age expectancy is like 76 or something like that. So you're probably about halfway through your life when you're no longer to be able to reproduce in mass, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you get one, maybe you get two or something like that, but you're not having 5, 6 kids at the age of 35, 36 years old. You know what I'm saying? So it's like...
I mean, I would hope not. I hope you wouldn't put yourself through that.
Why not? Shoot, we don't have these kids. We're gonna do it.
I mean, you being that age, once you commit the act, there's nothing else needed on your part. It's the woman who bears the grunt of this for the next 9 months.
Well, I mean, in so many words, women spoil before men do. That's, you don't like the way that sounds.
It sounds terrible. That sounds awful.
Oh, man.
That's terrible.
Biologically speaking, I mean, you guys spoil before we do. I mean, you know, we age like wine.
Here's the thing. If a woman is pregnant with a child and her child is female, she has all the eggs that she's ever going to have inside of her before she's even born.
Okay.
So when you enter in this world and you're, I guess, in your 20s or whatever your prime, the prime age rate is for having children.
R. Kelly would say.
Young.
That's sad.
I'm fighting for my life.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know how to hog tie.
We got that?
I don't know how to hog tie people.
Oh, we're terrible.
Awful. But you get to a certain point where you have to become comfortable with maybe this isn't going to happen for me.
Yeah, but I mean, really, I think you're being sold a lie, though, and that's my only argument to women who focus on their careers is that jobs come and go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, vacations are great, but when you keep doing them with your friends or you're doing them by yourself, how many one night stands? Not to say anybody on this panel would do that, but how many times do you go out of town, you meet some guy, it's so great that you meet him, you lay up with him, and now you're back home, back at your job, planning your next vacation. At some point in time, either your friends are going to time out and get families, and they're not going to want to go anymore, and it's going to be less exciting. The exciting part about going to Rome is that you don't go to Rome that often. But if you go all the time, if you always traveling, it's going to get old. So what do you do now that furthers your life? Like, now that I have 2 kids, only thing I can really think about is how do I move through that progression as a parent? How do I act when I'm faced with certain adversities? How do I respond when my kids come to me with certain frustrations and things like that? And then what do I do as far as like the trips we take with them? Where do I want them to be like exposed to? Like, it's a whole different process, you know what I'm saying? And it's beautiful because it's like, I know how it was when I was growing up and what made me feel some type of way. And now I fight to make sure that my kids don't have to endure that same thing. I don't overcompensate, but I do make a conscientious effort to be like, okay, let's take it here because I understand what taking it over here is going to bear. So it's like having that gives me a different set of energy, you know what I'm saying? To keep doing the same old same. Luckily, you know, I'm in a position now where it's like I could go do some traveling. You know what I'm saying? I could go.
That man got money.
I ain't saying all that. We don't need to go into details. So this is a nationwide podcast, maybe global podcast. I don't need nobody checking my pockets. But at the end of the day, I can go do what I want to do. Which wasn't necessarily the case now. So, and that's generally for a lot of men, as you reach your financial prime when you're kind of in your mid 30s, 40s, up to your 50s is kind of when you kind of top out. So you have the ability to go spend money on stuff you couldn't spend money on in your 20s. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, man. It's crazy.
That's a beautiful thing and wonderful. But I can't say that we can't, for me, acknowledging a certain percentage of people who've had to find satisfaction in other arenas because it didn't work out as far as having a family, or they haven't crossed that journey yet. So they've had to find satisfaction in other ways. And I get that, you know, having a family, being a parent, that comes with a whole new journey and a whole, it's very exciting, and you're responsible for the life of two, you know, other people. But for people who aren't going to walk that path or haven't come across that journey, they have to find other things that are going to satisfy them in the meantime. Sure. So even if it's like you said, your friends may fall off because they decide to get into relationships or start families or whatever the case may be, you as an individual are going to have to be very steadfast and know that, okay, maybe this isn't the journey for me, and I need to dig deep, do some soul searching, and figure out what's going to make me happy in an event that I need to stand alone, which, you know, for some people may end up being the case. What are the things that make me happy, that bring me joy, and that are fulfilling to me, so that way I don't feel like I'm wasting the time. So
let me ask you this, and feel free to not answer this if it just kind of makes you feel this type of way, but what puts you in your like what essentially would boost you into that purpose? Like what has prohibited you thus far from experiencing those joys, or, you know, being a parent? What do you think has been like the biggest deterrent as it pertains to becoming, you know, nurturing or a mother or anything like that?
For me, it's the people that I wanted to be here aren't here. Right. So for me, it's like hard to picture myself doing those things without them present. Gotcha. So for another person, it just may be, you know, they don't have like that type of connection or that type of bond with children. Gotcha. And they're like, I don't want to do that.
So kids hate you.
No, not at all. But I mean, but for me, is once upon a time, I saw that vision. And then, you know, life takes its course, and you're just like, I don't really see that for myself anymore. And sometimes you kind of go back and forth, like, could I do this without them? Would it still be the same? How would I navigate this? Because you were the people that I thought would always be here. And I don't have you in the physical to turn to say, hey, what should I do? I think they might be colicky, or, you know, like whatever the case may be. I know a lot of people call and go, they won't go to sleep, or, you know, they're restless, or they're, you know.
My baby probably crying right now.
See,
I'm just guessing, but she probably crying right now.
Exactly.
You know, but yeah.
But there's somebody you could call, or right. Somebody you could, you know, I don't want to have to go to WebMD for everything.
To be honest with you,
I don't want to go to WebMD.
I mean, just to be honest with you, like I don't really have nobody I call. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just kind of figure it out. Like that's kind of like part of the mystery for me, is just like figuring out. I'm one of those type of guys that'll be lost and won't turn on the GPS.
Right. And I am. As much as that makes sense to you, it does not make sense to me. So I would not do that. For me, you know, having
a support team.
Exactly, like a support team. And then you have your wife to help you. Right. So
you don't think the father would be there?
That's a 50-50 coin toss.
Okay. You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up.
Shout out Kevin.
I mean, you can't make it up, but
it's a 50-50 coin toss. Like if you're not married, and even if you are married, I know that there are people in marriages who still pretty much operate as single parents, right. Because the grunt and the workload of taking care of their child rests with that one particular parent. You might come in and play with the baby for a little bit and then be like, all right, I'm spent. Oh, but I've been here all day.
Well, I mean, I will say, as a parent, the roles are different. Like, you know what I'm saying? That what one parent brings to the table is separate from the other. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not to say that you shouldn't share responsibilities in some realm when it comes to watching kids, changing diapers, and et cetera, et cetera. But there are very different roles to play when it comes to disciplining your child, getting your child attuned to schedules and things like that. So it's like, since my daughter's been born, you know, I've kind of been working off and on. So it's like between doing the podcast, going to work, and just generally fixing stuff around the house, like I'm probably not in their face as much as my wife is in their face. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to like lesson learned and potty training and stuff like that, I step in and make sure that he understands, one, you can't talk to your mama in your kind of way. My son is in this no phase where he'll say no to anything. He'll say no to the wrong stuff. I asked him, did he want a whooping? He said yes. I was like, you know what a whooping is? I'm about to knock your head off.
Are you the enforcer?
Definitely. But you have to, even in that, like I try to make sure that he understands that it don't have to be when daddy get home. You could get whooped before I get home. You know what I'm saying?
Like get whooped when like
right. If I figure it out, then you're gonna get a double whooping. You know what I'm saying? But it's just some of those things where it's like we need to complement each other. We don't necessarily have to do the same exact thing. And I think that's probably where the divide with men and women is coming in. And it's such a wide gap between negotiations where it's like women now feel like they do things that men are traditionally supposed to do. They believe they do it better than them. So it's like,
I'm not going to say better, but the approach patience wise, like some of those things might be a little different.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, like
we have different approaches.
Right. You get straight to the point.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
We ain't got time.
I got little boys, so I know how little boys are. So
Right.
you have to know how to raunch it up. When my son starts falling out, and he watches Ricky Zoom, and he got 2 Ricky Zoom toys, and I be like, all right, time to go to bed, give me Ricky Zoom toys. He fall out like he just got shot. He fall out and get to crying and stuff like that, and I let him cry for a little second, and I'm like, all right, you finna get popped. And he's like, oh God, that's serious. Like, you know what I mean? You try to let him go through his little frustration, but I understand that that's not the way as a man that you deal with your problems. So even though I understand your frustration, you have to be able to wrap that up relatively quick and move on to the next thing.
And I guess that's where I have like the most challenging part of that. Because I'm like, you tell me no. And I'm like, I'm trying to think in my childhood when I got an opportunity to say no. When I got an opportunity to say, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that.
You don't.
Exactly. Like back in you were to be seen and not really heard.
Shout out to the 80s babies. Right. Shout out to them 80s babies.
Yeah. Sure. Like, you know.
Early 80s.
Your parents have a function. Y'all upstairs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Y'all come down.
Come down here and do that dance. No.
You gonna do the dance for the podcast?
No, I'm not doing that.
You set himself up. You set himself up for that. Podcast want to see that. Hey, if y'all want to see KG dance, go ahead and drop a comment below.
If we get 100 likes, I'll dance. I'll do the dance there.
Oh wow. Yeah, y'all need.
We gonna need y'all to like this video. Cause I haven't seen this dance before, so
y'all got
I need a good laugh in my life. But KG, let's pivot to you, man, because you're also childless at the moment. What is your take on like having kids? What's the hold up? Are you looking to have kids? Has your life evolved into a realm where you don't believe kids is something that's within the realm of possibility? Like where do you stand when it comes to kids right now?
I do want to have kids. I want to have as many as I can take care of.
How many is that?
When I look at the account, I'm like, we better stop.
Yeah, we better stop.
We better stop.
He lying.
But I do want kids. I want, I could do with 3 kids.
3 kids.
That's just a minimum. 3.
A minimum of 3.
Yeah.
So you trying to just shoot it up?
I'm trying to have a basketball team.
Okay, that's like we talking starting 5. We talking the bench too.
Starting 5. Definitely.
I'm about to say that's 11.
Starting 5.
You gonna have some alternates too, or
what you mean alternates?
Like the ones that come off the bench?
Yeah, like
nah,
my star player tired.
We can have 5. We keep it at 5.
Okay.
But I want a big family because I come from a big family, so I'm used to that.
Okay.
So I just want to keep that going.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And do you have like a certain sense of pride? Like as a man, I think like carrying your last name is like a big deal, even though it's not spoken on as much as it used to be.
Yeah, it is.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because
like for men.
Think about all the juniors, the juniors, the thirds, the fourths. They carrying on that legacy.
Yeah, Okay, that's quite a few.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it was crazy because like me personally, like my mom, she had an older brother, that was it, right? My uncle never had kids. So if my mom would actually gave me my dad's last name, then that would have been the end of our lineage, you know what I'm saying, from my grandfather's side. You know what I mean? He's pretty much the one who helped raise me. He filled in the father role for me. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, to carry his name on, it means a lot to me. And to give that to my son and things like that, like it does, like, if I can feel it, you know what I'm saying? So I want my son to be proud of his name and to understand where he came from, what his grandfather did, what his dad did. And that's part of the reason why we do podcasts and I do all this stuff to kind of leave an imprint somewhat, so that way he can go back and be like, oh, dad used to be into everything. Yeah, he used to do some of everything, son. Yeah. Some of everything. You better not do it.
Yeah, your dad used to rap.
I did used to rap. I still got a couple bars.
Bars still on deck.
I still got a couple bars.
Bars still on deck.
Don't ask me to rap. I'm not doing it. But I got a couple bars.
100 likes. He gonna rap. 100 likes. He gonna bust a
100 likes.
freestyle.
KG is dancing.
100 likes. I'ma dance to his rap. You better than him. 100 likes. I'ma dance to his rap.
What more do you want from me?
Oh man. You know what? You got to keep it fun. All right, if we get 100 likes, KG gonna dance. We get 150 likes, I'm gonna rap.
That'll work.
How about that?
That'll work.
All right. You know, I do that for y'all because I love the people. But yeah, I going back to the topic though, I think it's a difficult thing to kind of talk about sexual desirability, because what women do to be sexually desirable from one guy applies to several men. So now it goes back to the attention argument, where it's like once you seek out attention, you can't control who gives it to you. And it can be something that's wildly inconvenient. It can be uncomfortable. It can be something that is SA, you know, to a degree. You know what I mean? It's like you like Ron over there, but what you wore, Ronald likes it. You know what I'm saying? And Ronald bucktooth and got on some thick glasses. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't touch Ronald with a 10-foot pole, but you've just turned him on by trying to turn on this guy. So now it's like blood in the water. Like, sharks can smell it. Now everybody's swarming around you. Mm-hmm. And now as a woman, you feel uncomfortable because you went out of your comfort zone to try to impress one guy. So I always thought that was like, it's funny to me because it's like, how do you gauge that? You really want to impress this guy, but then you don't want everybody else to be in your face. Like, how do you, as a woman, kind of like gauge that?
Whew, that's a tough one. And like I said, it kind of calls for you to reverse the roles. So
like
you
Usher?
No, nothing like that.
What you mean? Yeah. Expound on it.
You would have to then become the approacher. Because that's the only way at this point you're not being approached by the things that you don't want. You're now pursuing the person that you actually intended to attract.
Okay.
That's the only way you can counteract that. Otherwise, you presenting yourself to the world based off of what you think is attractive, it can attract any element.
Yeah, it will attract any
exactly.
Right.
And it can also include some of the unfavorable ones as well. So now you're kind of stuck with what you didn't want and then some of what you did want.
So what if your approach doesn't work? Let's just say, or what if it works? Let's just say you get the man's number, y'all going to exchange contacts. Then the man that was waiting in the corner waits till you do that and still pursues you. What do you do? Because I know some guys that'll do that.
Oh, yeah. You ever had a homo in your DMs before?
Like, I mean,
Lord
okay,
Jesus.
I know you got this man number, but he ain't like me. So let me shoot my shot once you get done with that.
That's the point. He ain't like you and you ain't like him.
But I'm still going to pursue you.
Right.
So what you did for the first guy, it just attracted the other guy in the corner. He's still going to pursue you.
Right. But that kind of goes back to being evenly yoked with the person. So if you don't if you don't take inventory of what another person is before you approach them. Okay. So say you go to a girl house and you get a peek at her closet. It's Chanel this, it's Gucci that, and you're more on a Marshall's TJ Maxx type of budget. You need to gauge.
You better go ahead.
My gift is gonna be some Gucci, some Louis. You know, I'm gonna do my thing because you know.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if you also know, if you don't have that type of budget, that you probably should leave her alone.
Truth be told, she probably don't really have that kind of budget.
But it's in the closet though. She got
did
it.
That don't mean that she
Along
bought
with her skeletons.
Hey, a win's a win.
See, that's not true.
Oh,
That is not true.
However,
Oh man.
That is not true.
for however which way she got it, she got it.